If you're not paying attention to silver, you might want to start now because it's doing some incredible things. I'll explain what I mean in this video as we explore. Silver had a wild day today. It was down on some good news that we got from some numbers from the consumer price index, the inflation numbers. And then in later trading, it started to pick back up fairly dramatically. We're going to go through the numbers here in a moment, but first I want to remind you of channel sponsor Summit Metals. As you're shopping around for the best deals out there, keep them in mind. There's going to be other places that are going to have lower prices from time to time. It's always a good idea to have a variety of different places to buy from that you trust, and Summit Metals is one of those. So just keep them in mind as you're shopping around. You might be surprised. They may have some good deals out there. And so summitmetals.com. Now, we saw gold and silver fall. Now, after the London trading on Tuesday, dropping back towards yesterday morning's test of a 4-week low for gold, as U.S. stock markets rose following softer than expected consumer price inflation data. But interest rates ticked higher overall, and that's not with the Federal Reserve doing anything. They're just going up. Silver prices, they retreated along with gold back below $33 per troy ounce after U.S. inflation on the headline CPI came in one tick lower for April at 2.3%, down from 2.4%. With the core cost of living, excluding fuel and food, edging below 2.8% for the slowest annual pace since the spring of 2021, which is right before we saw inflation really kick up into high gear. Now, gold dropping almost $40 from an earlier rebound, dipping within $20 of Monday's bottom after the weekend raft of ceasefire headlines for the U.S.-China trade war, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and the recent India-Pakistan standoff over Kashmir. A lot of good news on that front, and so it's understandable that we'd see gold pull back and silver along with it. But then something happened later in the day. Now, longer-term borrowing costs edged higher in the bond market, raising 10-year Treasury yields to a 4.45% per annum, more than 0.1 percentage points above the Federal Reserve's current short-term target rate, despite the dip in inflation. Of course, you and I won't see that if we're saving money in our banks, our money market accounts. They're not going to account for that. No way, shape, or form. But nonetheless, betting on the federal funds rate continued to predict no change before September, contrasting with the rate cut expected in June as recently as this time last month, according to Adrian Ash here. Now, April's core CPI inflation data put the Fed funds rate in real terms at the highest in 7 months, and raising it to 1.55% per annum. And that could be a hint as to why we saw a rebound later in the afternoon trading. And I want to also make you aware of something, about a new piece of silver I want to show you here later in the video. You're not going to want to miss this. This is a really cool piece that the people at Spectre sent to me, so stay tuned. Now, the gold in real inflation-adjusted terms has now risen by more than 50% since a real funds rate set a modern era low of minus 6.38% as post-COVID supply chain blockages coincided with Russia's all-out invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022. That's remarkable for gold. No question about that. But you know what? Silver is so far behind, but we have seen now for the second time in the last couple of days here, silver surprising us. And it surprised us again today. So where do the numbers stand right now? Gold is now rebounding up $13.10 now. That's a 0.4% increase moments before the markets close for gold. It is now resting at $3,251.80, up $13.10, still below the $3,300 mark. Silver, though, on the other hand, is doing amazing things. It is up almost 1%. It's up 32 cents right now to $33.03. Folks, we're seeing now silver back above $33 an ounce. Now, don't get too excited. Yep, I like to try to keep it real on this channel because I know things like the dollar index are going to play a role here. And of course, the dollar strengthening usually does not bode well for silver, especially silver, but also gold. But there's reason to be excited here because any day we see this, especially in close proximity to the other day, where silver outperforms gold, it's a good thing. And why? Because silver is undervalued for a number of different reasons, but we're seeing it being pushed up, not only as a precious metal, but also as a commodity. Hence why the gold to silver ratio has now narrowed to now below 99. Who would ever thought we'd celebrate 99 or 98.6 a gold to silver ratio? Well, here we are. We're celebrating it. I'd like to get to the 80s and maybe even the 70s. You know, is that too much to ask for? Maybe not. We may see it. Now, compared to cash, claims a report in the UK's independent newspaper, gold does not lose value due to inflation, nor is it subject to changeable nature of interest rates. That's part of why people view it as a safe haven and see those standalone properties as positives. In fact, the noise of the market itself and the everyday trading is something else we must also consider why gold and, yes, by extension, silver are hedges against inflation and economic instability. No matter what the price does, having wealth outside of the system is invaluable, I think. Now, Tuesday's CPI report was the first U.S. inflation data to cover the period since President Trump's Liberation Day trade tariffs, since partly unwound crashed the U.S. dollar and financial market. So much for Jerome Powell saying that tariffs will be inflationary. They are not. And that's bearing itself out to be the case with these new numbers that have just been released. There isn't a lot of evidence of tariffs boosting the CPI in April, reckons one U.S. economist, but it takes time. Certainly the risk to higher inflation and higher unemployment have increased, said Fed Chair Jerome Powell at last week's post-FOMC meeting, post-conference after keeping the U.S. Central Bank's target interest rate unchanged as expected. But again, of course, he's going to say that because he doesn't understand what inflation actually is or what tariffs actually are. And tariffs are indeed a tax, but taxes do not cause inflation. That's right. Taxes can cause prices to go up, but that's not inflation. But nonetheless, I've gone over that ad nauseum in many different times. But nonetheless, it's very fascinating to see what's going on with silver. And why do we celebrate today is because if we see this pause for 90 days and a deal worked out between China and the United States, that means a reconnecting of supply chains in due course, and also economic activity being spurred in the United States and more domestic production, which will involve silver for a number of different products because there's over 10,000 uses for silver, and one of that is actually clothing, silver-infused clothing to help eliminate odors and bacteria in clothing. That's just one area there, plus all the electronics and all the uses that silver has. It's no wonder why silver is so connected to other commodities in this way, because it's consumed. It's mined and it's consumed, which makes it highly unlikely to recycle until such a time when it becomes economically viable to do so. That means there's room for silver's price to move in an upwards direction before that occurs, and we could be at the cusp of seeing that start to make momentum to the point where, dare I say it, the era of 100 plus to 1 gold to silver ratio may be over for now. Who knows? I'm just saying it's a possibility, but we'll see how that goes. Now, I want to share with you something very interesting that the people at Spectre sent to me. This is really, really cool. Going to move this stuff out of the way so I can show this. The packaging, I think, is really cool for some collectible silver pieces. And they've been very kind to send to me to review, to show you the Holy Knuckles. Yeah, it's like it's just as it says. This is a really cool piece. I'm going to pull it out of the box here. But I love the quality craftsmanship that they pose with their products, and this is second to none in that regard. Look at this nice wooden box with the clear glass panel here and foam to protect it, and there they are, the holy knuckles. Yes, it's a brass knuckles with some iconography on there that is really, really stunning. The second release after the acclaimed Holy Lance and Kiss of Death coins blends the bold artistry with faith-inspired designs. Drawing from the legendary brass knuckles of Constantine, it features Latin inscriptions that evoke protection, justice, and spiritual power. Yes, indeed. Let's take a look at this thing. Absolutely amazing. And it is gilded, obviously, here. And the finger holes are seated with the St. Benedict metal design highlighted in black, featuring the Latin inscriptions and that reference the cross of the Holy Father Benedict and peace above the cross. And then we have the image of St. Benedict holding the cross there. And it's really, really cool piece indeed that you can see here. And the capsule hugs it perfectly. Very, very nice indeed. Issued by Samoa in 2025, this 2-ounce 3/9 fine silver legal tender collectible coin, it measures 65 by 38 millimeters. You can see it in comparison with my hand. I don't have small hands, but I don't have huge hands either. But nonetheless, there it is. Nice. It has this nice premium wooden display case, akin to the Holy Lance as well. Includes a numbered certificate of authenticity for a complete collector's experience. And this thing is pretty amazing. You can see that this happens to be number 54 of only 999 of these pieces. Very, very well done. You can see it up close there. They did an amazing job with this, and with the phrases for all the different protections there, and including "Let justice be done as the world perishes. Therefore, a cursed dragon, and we exorcise you, very unclean spirit, Holy Spirit, and the eternal Spirit, and I will fear no evil." Very nicely done indeed. And as always with Spectres, it's absolutely pristine and exquisite craftsmanship. So there you have it. Something to celebrate on this day for silver. Let me know what your thoughts are about this piece and also silver in general. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch this video, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.